Bendo, bend over your body, girl. Bend over your body, girl. Wagwan YouTube, long time no see. Reacting to goddamn when your backup striker makes your $150 million striker look pointless. You see what I'm saying? Let's get into the video. I ain't got shit to say.
So listen to this. Just last year, Hugo Ekitike was being dragged through the mud, embarrassingly being nicknamed by German newspaper Bild as Mr. Zero Goals.
Hey!
Which, don't get me wrong,
Hey!
it makes sense.
Hey!
The man hadn't scored one in 464 days.
What, my nigga? My nigga?
Yet, fast forward to today, and he has just signed for Liverpool for 95 million euros. There had never been a player with 0 national team call-ups being sold for a higher fee than that. Is the most expensive in history. And still, with each passing day, it is looking more and more like a bargain. Because,
Facts.
I can't lie to you, at first, he was just a
I'm not even going cap to. I actually fuck with him. 6'5", good with the ball in his feet. Could shoot, humble. You know what I'm saying? I fought with the boy, and he's scoring. Scoring more than Alexander Isak.
Broke their transfer record, splashing 145 million on Isak.
When y'all niggas know, y'all niggas should have just got Rodrigo, Vinny Jr., Mbappe or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Niggas want to go get a position. Niggas want to spend 150 million on a position where the player in that position is already performing. Doesn't even make sense, my nigga, but hey.
This should be no surprise, because those 464 days were the real exception, the major outlier in his career. This isn't just a player who's finally had a good season. This is a huge talent who was forced to rise from his own ashes after being beaten down and sabotaged by a club who never really cared about him.
Oh, PSG?
Way before those dark years, Ekitike was already seen as a prodigy. In the words of his first ever coach,
this nigga played for PSG?
So much. Has got fed up with him embarrassing their teams every time, so one day they just took him with them. However, despite almost instantly settling himself as one of their top academy prospects, at 16, the club decided to give him a chance at playing for their reserves.
Hey! That was a tough goal.
In the words of the reserves manager, he was a beanstalk. He was always tall, but then he shot up and didn't fill out his frame at all. Playing against real men, guys with real athleticism. Just watching him, we were scared he'd break a leg every time he went in for a tackle. But well, this patronizing attitude only led him to find out one more thing about Ekitike, his relentless determination. From that moment on, he began hitting the gym harder than ever, and though he had pretty much ghosted all of his first...
I'm not gonna lie. If Ekitike hits the gym, my nigga, it's over for every... Nigga, 6'5", deezed, and he's good with the ball. Yo.
He hit 5 goals over the next 7, and as that same
I ain't gonna lie, bro.
The first games were rough.
I ain't gonna lie.
Easy. He was already being given a chance to train with the first team for a week, which, in classic Ekitike fashion, just wasn't enough. As the weekend approached, first team manager David Guillon named his squad for the next match, sending the rest of the players back to train with the reserves. And
that's Ekitike.
Ekitike did not like that. Despite his youth and lack of status, he had the nerve to ask to speak to Guillon and outright told him he was making a mistake. As Guillon would recall, he just could not understand why he was not in the squad. That was Hugo. He was impatient with everything. But that day, Guillon scolded him for not knowing his place. In reality, he'd admit he saw that as a virtue, as unrelenting self-belief. In his own words, that's his big quality. He doesn't moan, slack off, or complain. He's very conscious of his qualities and he's frank. He says his piece, and then it's back to business. So much
and that's how it's supposed to be. I fuck with a heavy.
The only problem was that call-up came in March of 2020. Still, one way or another, the next season, with football restarting and his debut coming shortly, he still wasn't happy. Those patronizing comments about his physique kept bubbling up in his head with every minute spent on a bench, so in January, no matter how much Guillon actually wanted him around, in a true act of desperation, the 18-year-old asked to be loaned out, specifically to Denmark. in one of
Okay.
the most physical leagues
Why
in
though?
Europe, so he could show everyone that no matter how big the opponent, he wasn't scared of anyone.
Okay. Nah, this guy's a demon. This guy, what?
He was almost sent back before he even stepped at the airport, being refused entry into the country due to the lockdown and only being saved after a high-ranking military officer recognized him as the new signing of the club he supported, Viola BK. Then, after about a month riding the bench, Ekitike was finally given proper game time as they went into the relegation playoffs, scoring 3 and assisting 2 in just 552 minutes of football,
Wow.
which not only allowed him to feel like a professional player for the first time, but almost 5x his market value, putting him in position to reject a place in the reserves after he made it back to Reims, and new manager Oscar Garcia told him he was only their 4th choice striker. And luckily enough, then quickly a wave of injuries sent almost all of his competition into the medical department, which allowed him to sweep up an assist on his first ever start, then a goal in his second.
Okay.
And after that, he calmed down just enough to start on the bench against Nantes. Once they found themselves about to settle for a draw, he came in late and scored 2 in just 6 minutes.
Allah.
Another less so,
Ekitike.
out.
Hugo.
Now, not even a red card in the following game was enough of an argument to keep him on the bench. In his first match back, he was already scoring again.
Allah.
2 games later came another, and by the time they played Lyon, though he was actually benched one more time on account of not having enough big game experience, yet again, with the game tied, it was he who came off the bench to score the winner. And before anyone questioned whether or not he should be on the starting 11 against Marseille at the end of the month, he popped up, scoring in the following game and then winning the penalty for the opener and assisting the second to beat Saint-Etienne 2-1.
This shit sounds like a movie, Crow.
Marseille came around, he was opening up the score to put Reims in front at the Velodrome, making himself not only their top scorer for the season, but the top scorer out of
in the
every
league
under-20 player across the top 5 leagues.
Damn.
Suddenly, talks about his physique became instead about how fast and skilled he was.
Yeah.
His height.
Yeah.
With himself claiming he wouldn't change his body for anything in this world. All of it just in time for the winter market, by which, according to their club president, there wasn't a big club out there who didn't inquire about him, with Newcastle almost beating Bayern, PSG and Dortmund to it.
Damn.
On deadline day.
Nigga went to Newcastle?
Ruining their chances of ever getting him, because then, after 2 more goals against Bastia and Bordeaux, even with Ekitike picking up an hamstring injury that left him out for 14 games, spending nearly 3 months after injuries with his recovery, well, he made it back just in time to prove it was nothing but a scare, coming in late in the second to last match of the season to assist the winner, before closing it out with by far the best goal of his career up till that point.
That's a banger.
Meaning he had not only become the youngest player
Sorry, chat. Just you know what I'm saying. They're messaging me. I can't. You hear me? I gotta. You hear me? You hear me? You hear me?
Yeah. If you remove the penalties, he was still averaging 0.85 goal contributions.
That's mod.
90,
on a shit team. That's mod.
Only Mbappe had a
Only
better
Mbappe.
record, so as much as Newcastle tried, there was no chance.
And nigga, they already had Isaac.
Ekitike's own words: if you're French, when PSG comes calling, you
can't refuse.
Especially when your loan comes with an option to buy for 35 million euros. That would make your transfer the second most expensive ever between 2 French clubs, 2 times higher than any other sale by Reims. Yet, maybe you should have. Arriving in
because they
Paris,
don't play you.
Ekitike insisted that I'm not scared of anything. When you know what you want, why take things slowly? My football has never let me down. But man, he had Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi alongside him. Sure, the followers must have been nice, but he had to know there was no chance he'd ever be able to shine among those guys. He was barely allowed onto the pitch for the first 3 months, and even once Messi went out with an Achilles injury, allowing the kid to break into the starting 11 and instantly getting an assist before being sent back to the bench the next game, and still managing to score and assist another in the 15 minutes he was handed.
Nothing.
Back into the starting 11 and only skipping a game before scoring scoring in 3 in a row. Well, then everyone in that trio became available again, and he was
benched that nigga.
The rest of the season went by as if he wasn't even there.
Why do youngsters, unproven players, go to big teams and like, nigga, use your brain. Like, who's in your circle? And Endrick, I'm looking at you. Like, you really thought you was finna get PT, my nigga? You really thought you was finna get PT, my nigga?
And in the end, with Messi and Neymar leaving, as well as a shocking revelation that in reality that option to buy was pretty much mandatory, almost as if their club actually needed that money, the PSG fans dogpiled Ekitike, spamming his Instagram with racist comments. The
What?
deadline day came to an end without the club finding him a new home. I can't ever stress it enough how obvious it was that Ekitike didn't want this. He had already been warned by new manager Luis Enrique that he wasn't in his plans, so then, enabled by the fans' hate, right in pre-season he went as far as sending Ekitike into PSG's bomb squad.
Wow.
Literally known within the club as the undesirables, and then, just to truly ruin him, Enrique left him out of the Champions League squad.
Wow.
Even Mbappe's younger brother made it into their B list, but Ekitike, well, he wasn't even called up for a single match, Champions League or not, over the next 5 months. So,
Luis Enrique, man, what are you doing, my boy?
willing to take him on a loan. Even his fitness was completely ruined. Upon arrival, his own teammate Sebastian Rod would admit that he is in really bad condition, only has the power to play for 5 to 10 minutes. I didn't even think that was possible for a 20-year-old.
Wow.
But as much as Enrique himself tried to act tough, saying he didn't regret anything, that my errors were necessary, it also conceded that even if a striker doesn't score for a couple matches, he'll doubt himself. So imagine how it must feel not playing for 6 months.
Wow, bro.
Frankfurt had clear promise. After all, they were the ones that had just built Colomwani into a 95 million euro striker and were halfway through doing the same with Marmoush.
Yeah.
But the media wouldn't be so patient. After Ekitike was forced to leave the pitch midway through his debut with a full body cramp, the sirens were already being sounded, but then one match went after the other, and after 12 had gone by,
he didn't score.
The German newspapers gave themselves license to kill, nicknaming him Mr. Zero Goals.
Wow.
At this point, despite all I've said,
Wow,
there was
wow,
actually
wow,
good
wow,
reason
wow,
to
wow,
doubt
wow,
why
wow,
Frankfurt
wow, wow,
still
wow.
had the power to pull the kind of trick they had with Colomwani. After all, only 3 players remained from the 2022 Europa League final, and manager Oliver Glasner had just left as well. Sure, it was oddly encouraging that the new manager was Dino Topmöller, the son of Klaus Topmöller, who took Leverkusen to the 2002 UCL final, as well as the longtime assistant of Julian Nagelsmann, a manager who stood for precisely the kind of football Ekitike would thrive under. But none of that was guaranteed. However, to the distaste of the German media, then
they started spamming monkeys and spamming gorillas. My fault.
Decided to once again bet on themselves and bet on Ekitike. With 6 matches left in the season, they informed the striker that despite him being yet to score a goal for the club, they would be triggering his 16 million euro option to buy.
Yep.
And incredibly, that same week, Ekitike put it in between the defender's legs, went around the whole defense and bounced it off the post to put Frankfurt in front. But even worse, he didn't stop.
Okay.
Game, he glided in between 2 Bayern players
Bah!
before sending it in from outside the box. Then, against Leverkusen, he again got their only goal with a header.
Okay.
A backhill assist for equalizer. Game of the season.
Nigga died the braids.
Contributions in the 6 games following his proper transfer. Another header. Suddenly, Mr. Zero Goals had inflated his numbers so much, he wasn't even far off a goal or assist per 90. And that was before his partnership with Marmoush truly blossomed. By January, with Marmoush by his side, Ekitike looked almost fake. He was dribbling goalkeepers, putting it in between their legs. The sheer confidence he was displaying was out of this world. But well,
it's when he started looking sweet and shit.
As a way to downplay him.
When footballers start looking good, you know they're finna play good. Cause you gotta look good to play good, my nigga.
Too many. It was just a Robin to Marmoush's Batman, since the Egyptian had 33 goal contributions to Ekitike's 18. But once more, timing just served Ekitike perfectly, because that same month, Man City came in and took Marmoush away with a 75 million euro deal, and alone, Ekitike did not falter one bit. Starting right from their last match together,
Bang that
went
bit.
on a run of 4 consecutive games scoring. By March, it was already putting on a man of the match performance to defeat Ajax in the Europa League, even scoring to hold Tottenham to a draw.
Nigga, he's tough. Nigga, he's shooting the ball from outside. Nigga, he's checking in, receiving the ball, taking on 2-3 niggas, and shooting the ball from outside of the box. And niggas still thought, yeah, let's buy Isak for 150. What?
And eventually closing out the season by refusing to let go of Frankfurt's best league finish since the first ever edition of the Bundesliga, putting down 6 goal contributions in the final 6 games yet again, and qualifying them for the Champions League for only the 2nd time in their history, the first ever directly through their league finish. Yet, while he prepared himself to follow the same route as Marmoush, insisting that I'm not in football to be just an ordinary player, I tell myself I can be the best in the world, the man whose market value had now skyrocketed to 75 million found himself in the middle of a transfer market storm. With Newcastle still desperate to undo their mistake, in a lot of ways also looking to replace their star player Alexander Isak, who they must have known was bound to leave eventually, and Frankfurt holding out for a 100 million euro bid for after all, now they had UCL football to play and had already lost one of their star players. The transfer saga got stretched long enough that with Liverpool approaching Newcastle for Isak and getting repeatedly rejected, as they too seem to be holding out for more money, Liverpool ended up going for Ekitike instead, hijacking that deal but taking long enough that in the meantime, Isak, who had become convinced he'd be able to force his way to Liverpool, lost his mind, went on strike, and eventually allowed Liverpool to show the newly rich Newcastle how real sharks move in the transfer market.
Martin!
To bring him in as well, how much everyone seemed to think that would make Ekitike the most pointless signing in Premier League history.
That's what I was thinking, bro.
Except that, while Isak was on strike, Ekitike gathered enough speed to put down 6 goal contributions in 6 matches for Liverpool. Every single one of them absolutely clutch, already being rewarded with his first ever national team call-up. Not to mention, he has put an end to the previous season's claims, as at this point,
he's tougher than Isak.
His numbers for City at any moment. All in all, leading many to question whether they ever bench him after performing like this, and leaving Liverpool with no option but to either bench one of their biggest ever signings or find a way to fit both of them, as well as Salah and Wirtz, into a single starting 11.
Good luck.
Mind you, they also have Chiesa and Cody Gakpo
Good
on
luck.
the bench.
Good luck. Anyways, y'all, hope you guys enjoyed the video, man. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I love you boys, man. I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video.